Hey, if you're new to the movement, my name is Stephen Gibbs. I'm the senior pastor here. And just a couple things that you should know about your time with us. Number one, we just want you to be encouraged today. We say that a lot around here. I was talking to a friend of mine recently. I was encouraging her, and she said, stop. No, really, don't stop, right? Because everybody likes more encouragement. We also want you to be challenged for more. We don't want you to just be able to kind of coast through life. We know that you have a vision for your life and things that you want to do, and we know that God has a plan for you, and we want to help you get there. And sometimes growth doesn't happen without some good old-fashioned challenge, so we want you to be challenged. Also, we want to really help you understand the transformational power of the Bible. We know that in our culture that the Bible has fallen out of favor because people have misunderstood what it's used for and what it actually accomplishes in your life, and it is the words of life. Somebody say amen right there. And then finally, we really want you to know that Jesus is the answer to everything you've been looking for. And you may not know what you're looking for right now, but you know right here in your soul something's missing. And so we want you to be able to find that. And so thanks so much for being here. Just a quick word. Thanks for those of you, the hundreds of you that volunteered to make Christmas Eve services happen on the 23rd and 24th. As you know, we had 7 experiences, and just so many people got to experience a church that was Jesus-centered and really hear how he can make a difference. And that's because of people like you and your sacrificial giving and your generosity and your time. And just the stories that have come out of that have just been so fun to hear. So thank you for that. And thank you to the Lord for allowing us to experience that. Come on. And so we're launching this series today called Tired of Being Tired. And as we kind of march into 2025, it's like Jesus just kind of comes to the stage and says, come to me all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Man, what a transformational promise for your life. Come on. Like what a counter-cultural way to live, that the first thing that we see that Jesus steps onto the stage and he offers us this idea of rest. Now, like a lot of you in the room, I like to maximize things in my life. Anybody like to maximize your time? You want to maximize it? Man, you know, there's always a new app. There's always a new alert I can set during the day to remind me to do something. I'm always want to maximize time. I want to maximize, everything. Like I go to the gym, I can't get in one more set. Just one more set. Or maybe you get in the sauna, can I stand it one more minute? It's hot, but it's good for me. At least that's what they tell me. Or I get in the cold plunge. No, I don't really want to do that longer. Do you? No, you want to get out of there as quick as possible. But we like to maximize things. I think the thing that we lack understanding in how to maximize is how to maximize the condition of our soul. Right? It's how to maximize the condition of our soul. You know, the soul, as your soul goes, your life goes. As your soul goes, your life goes. And our soul is so important. Let me ask you this question, like how is your soul? Right? If you had to answer the question, how is your soul? It's hard to even have categories for the soul, isn't it? Because it feels like it's non-tangible. Just some ways to look at it. How's your interior life? Your interior world. When you think about everything that makes you, your desires, your dreams, man, your thoughts, your emotions, all that comes together. How is the stuff in your soul that doesn't make the highlight reel that everybody else sees and you get to talk about? How's your anxiety level? How's your level of satisfaction inside? Why did the room get so heavy so fast? What in the world? Like, are you anticipating or dreading 2025? How connected do you feel to purpose and wholeness in your life? How about levels of shame and regret that you are shaking or not shaking? Man, how easily can you fall asleep and feel rested when you wake up? Man, how proud do you think God is of you? Like, how totally alive do you feel? Scale of 1 to 10, right? How is your soul? Now here's what I want to say. The rested you is the best you. Come on, right? The rested you is the best you. When you're rested, you're just better. Do you know that your spouse likes you better when you're rested? Hello? Like turn to your spouse and say, get some rest. Get some rest, right? And we'll have counseling later, right? I mean, we know we make better decisions when we're rested. We're more at ease when we're rested. We're in a better mood when we're rested. We're able to handle difficulties that come our way better when we're rested. Like rest is something that we need to realize is gonna make our soul produce more. It's gonna make our soul produce more. But what I've begun to understand is that most people I talk to, their souls don't feel rested, they feel tired. Some level of maybe fatigue. It could be from something as extreme as exhaustion and you're just redlining your life. Or maybe you just feel some sense of just limping into the new year. And it seems like, based on studies that we read, that a lot of people feel tired. So Gallup recently did a poll, and almost 60% of people who were polled said that they could use a little more sleep. Anybody in the room? Just they feel like they could use a little more sleep. That the average American, on average, feels tired 1,500 hours a year. Okay, and for you mathematicians, that's about 4 hours a day. That's about 25% of our lives. People feel tired. And tired has this ability to shrivel our souls. You know that when we're tired, it's just not very attractive, is it? It's just not very attractive. Like when you look at someone, they're tired and they got bags under their eyes, not me, but you. They got dark circles around their eyes. You can tell on their face that they seem tired. You can tell by their mood, they seem a little irritable or frustrated. It seems like they're making decisions they wouldn't normally make. It seems like they're impatient and frustrated. And one of the big reasons for that is because we get tired. And tiredness has an impact on our soul that actually it's a roadblock to the life that we really want. You know, General Patton said this. He said, fatigue makes cowards of us all. Fatigue makes cowards of us all, makes us compromise. Like how many parents in the room have gotten tired and finally said, have the donut, I don't care. We know that's a bad decision, but also when we get tired, we make bad decisions, we compromise, we give up what we want most for what we want now. Fatigue makes cowards of us all. You know, John Steinbeck said, I'm getting tired way past where sleep rests me. You ever been that tired that you know you could sleep and it's not gonna matter? You're just gonna be tired. A tired body cannot carry a peaceful mind. Now here's the problem with a crowd like ours. When we hear rest, what do we hear? We hear less. I'm gonna do less, so I'm gonna get less. I'm gonna be less productive, I'm gonna have less money, I'm gonna have less fun, I'm gonna have less satisfaction, I'm gonna have less joy. I'm gonna have less because why I'm wired to do. I'm a producer, I'm a performer. That's what I've gotten rewarded for my entire life. That's what I've been told is the goal of life. You know, Ben Franklin said what? He said, the early bird gets the worm. Gotta get up early, gotta stay up late, and I'll get less. But the reality is the right rest gets you ready for more. The right rest will get you ready for more. Have you ever been in a vehicle that redlined? Anybody, right? You haven't lived until you've done this, okay? So I just want y'all to try this today. Are our officers in the room? Just kidding. But you know, when you redline a vehicle, what happens? It starts to shut the engine off, so you actually begin to go slower. And that's what happens in our lives. And some of us are just redlining today. We're not just fatigued, we are redlining our lives because we think we'll get more. And listen, the right rest just means we get more of God. The right rest means that we get more of God. And Jesus gives this invitation today to go beyond a level of predictable mediocrity in life and to pursue something that really, really matters. C.S. Lewis said this. He says, human history is the long, terrible story of man trying to find something other than God which will make him happy. Long, terrible story. And I think if we look back on the year and just do a review or even just the week or the days and the things that we look to make us happy, we'll find that they've been tried and left and found wanting. Am I right? Like there's so many things that they'll provide some temporary happiness in the moment. But as we look back with a sense of regret that we wasted some time or we wasted some energy or we wasted some money. Now, Jesus steps into this and he says, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden. All who labor and are heavy laden. So this word for labor just means this, it's beyond physical tired to soul tired. If you've ever been soul tired, you know what I mean. There's just this emotional tired that goes beyond physical exhaustion and just like, I just don't even have capacity anymore is the way we'll say it. And then he says heavy laden. There's these burdens that get laid on us. I think what Jesus is trying to communicate to us is that there are demands that get placed on us in life, and he knows. He knows. You ever feel like you got demands placed on you? You remember when that happened? Like, you get to high school, you get a little freedom, you get a few demands, maybe your, college choice. is going to be dependent on your grades and your resume and all those things. Then you get to college and you got a little more demands, but then you graduate from college and the demands kick in, overdrive. Remember that? All of a sudden you're like, what is FICA? Like, why am I paying him? And you have responsibilities and you have burdens, and they just begin to weigh down on us. And Jesus is just trying to say, I understand this. Have financial demands, anybody? Understand that? Man, you have to have a place to stay, a roof over your head, a car to drive. And I understand there are a lot of things that we could probably look at in our lives and say those are rich people problems, but the truth is they're still our problems. The truth is God knows that we live here and God knows what demands are. And we have financial demands in our life. We have time demands. Those are probably bigger. Man, so many people wanting some of your time. And it happens primarily, you get married, a little more time demands happens. Then you have kids, and what in the world happens? And you think that as your kids get older, the demands are gonna get less. Wrong answer. Because it just gets more, because the demands are higher, the decisions are more important, and they have longer lasting consequences. We just have these demands on our time. We have emotional demands on us that weigh us down. It could be something from our past that we can't seem to shake. It could be that relationship with our parents that is, gone off the rails and full of conflict. It could be just some baggage that we seem to carry. And Jesus steps in and says, hey, if you're weary, if you're heavy laden, if you got some demands on you, I'm your guy. I'm the answer. There's a quote that says this: a man is not defined by what he wants from life, but how he responds to what life wants from him. And it feels like sometimes life wants some things from us, and we feel like we have to answer the bell ourselves. There's a former UN Secretary General from the 60s. He said this, his name was Dag Hammarskjöld. He said this: life only demands from you the strength you possess. That's not true. Because you've had some demands put on you didn't have strength to carry. Man, you faced some tragedy and some tears. Man, you faced the death of a loved one or the loss of a job. Man, you faced relational conflict, unmet expectations. You faced dreams that have died, and you did not have the ability to carry them. And Jesus offers this invitation. Come to me. Come to me. Let me ask you, what are life's demands on you right now? If you could just look at them, just acknowledge them, just be honest. Like, these are demands. And here's the tendency for a lot of us. Be like, you know what? Everybody's got demands. Doesn't matter. They've got demands, we all got demands. It doesn't minimize the demands you have and the fact that God sees the demands in your life. And what demands are on you right now? Maybe, just maybe, there's somebody that wants to help you carry them. So Jesus says, come to me, attach yourself to me. Now notice how he handles their weariness. He doesn't say, just get your act together. Like, learn how to manage your time better. Have you ever heard the word no? Like he doesn't chastise them. He says, come to me. And it's an invitation for the tired and the burned out and the stressed out and the worn out and the worn down, the confused, the anxious, the depressed. Those who are stuck in traffic, behind on your to-do list, reaching for another cup of coffee. He says, come to me. Now, this is really important that we understand that he doesn't say, hey, adopt my teaching, even though that's a side benefit. He says, come to me as a person. It's a relationship that we have with God that gets us help that we need to carry these demands. He doesn't say get cleaned up. He doesn't say get it together. Actually, what qualifies you, your credentials to get help, are the fact that you have a burden and weariness. Now, we get distracted by the demands in our life from the things that really matter. You know, how many times do we get through life and we really didn't, or a week, and didn't really accomplish the things that we really wanted to accomplish that we knew were important? Now, we've probably all heard the illustration of, you put the big rocks in first, then you put the sand in, and then everything fits in there. And we just have a problem choosing big rocks over sand sometimes. And we get distracted by the demands of life. Jesus just says he knows. Now there's this description of Jesus in this passage when he says, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am. Now, this is the one place in the Bible where Jesus actually portrays and defines his heart for us. Now, when you have a heart for something, that describes your motivation, how you feel about it, your emotional connection. So if you say, you have a heart for something, it will describe actually who you are and your identity. And he says, I am gentle and lowly in heart. Like this is his identity, gentle, kind, lowly, humble. So what Jesus is trying to say is, bring me your burdens. I'm accessible, right? I'm here for you. I'm available for you. I want to help you carry them. This is a gift. And this is the only place in the Bible where we hear Jesus' heart for us. Now, the fact that he's accessible just means that we get to be with him. And that we get to be with him and he gives us rest. Abraham Lincoln said this. I would say that dude had some demands on him, wouldn't you? What in the world? He says this, I've been driven many times to my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had nowhere else to go. Nowhere else to go. Man, so we need to learn what it looks like if our soul is gonna be whole, if our soul is gonna be alive, if our soul is gonna be healthy this year, we gotta learn what it means like to be with Jesus. We gotta learn what that means. Now, you may not have a category for that today. I totally understand that. It may be that you're just exploring faith, or maybe you had some faith and got away from faith, or maybe you had a faith that was just built on the rituals and the rules and the regulations and everything, the to-do list that really made you feel really tired. Some of you know exactly what that means. And so when it says to be with him, it just means to sit with him and just take time with him and to make it part of the first thing you do every single day. Like, because I know a lot of people in the room, y'all got some morning routines because I've heard them. I've read about them. They are legendary, okay? And I think most of us have one. I have one. And so many times it starts out without God at the beginning. And God is the big rock you need at the beginning. Now, let me just give you a real practical example of this. How many of you guys have heard of Psalm 23, the Lord is my shepherd? Okay, maybe you've heard that somewhere, but it's Psalm 23. It's roughly in the middle of the Bible. And so in Psalm 23, David is writing this. It says, the Lord is my shepherd. And so what if every morning you got up and this is just what you locked your mind on? You just got up, grabbed some coffee, sat down, and began to read this psalm. The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything that I need. That's Gibbs' paraphrase there. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. But what it means is the Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. There's nothing coming at you any day of this year that God will not provide for you a way out. There, you have everything that you need, no matter the good, no matter the bad, no matter the mediocre, no matter the neutral. God will provide everything that you need. The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. He makes me lay down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my what? Soul. He restores my soul. And so it just tells us and reminds us that God wants me to live a life of contentment and peace and calm, even in the midst of all the things that I get to do in life. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Why? Because you're with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy will chase after me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Listen, we have to remind ourselves that God has got some good for us every single day, don't we? Man, we have got to remember in the midst of being burdened and weighed down in the demands of life, God's got good for us. Man, he wants to help pick us up like helium picks up a balloon. God wants to fill our lives. We need to be with him. But not only that, to be like him. He wants us to be like him. He wants us to have a lifestyle like him. Have you ever seen somebody and you want their life and not their lifestyle? Right, this happens all the time. You'll see somebody like, I like the way they look. Tell me about your workout plan. And what you really should be asking is about what they eat, because that's way more important. But you don't want to know that because you know they're not eating Oreos and you're not willing to give those up. And we want people's life without their lifestyle. And what Jesus says is, you need my lifestyle. I want you to be like me, imitate me, do the things that I do. And one of the primary things that Jesus did, he rested. Man, Jesus rested. He uses this term, this phrase. He says, take my yoke upon you and learn from me. Learn from me. Now, we don't really talk about yokes in our culture. We're, a technology and industrial. We've been part of the industrial revolution, the technology revolution. We missed agrarian terms, but we probably remember on some level the fact that a yoke would connect two oxen together and they could pull more. So if they were pulling, if you had one ox who was trained and adult and older, he could pull about 5,000 pounds, and they put another one on the other side that was young and untrained, could pull about 2,000 pounds, but together, they didn't pull 7,000, they pulled 10,000. But then once the other ox got trained, they could pull 15,000. And so they began to use this language of yoke to be with rabbis, and rabbis' yoke was their teaching. Right? It was their method of seeing the world. So for instance, in today's culture, if you were to say, what is Warren Buffett's teaching? He'd say something like, invest in what you know, right? If you were to say something like, maybe Jimmy Carter, he would be something like, be kind to people, because that was kind of what was said about him. Or maybe Theodore Roosevelt, it was, speak softly and carry a big stick. We know what people teach. And so Jesus says, hey, take my teaching on you. Like there's a yoke that you can carry that makes life easy, that makes life work. And yoke is about work. Let's not mistake this, because I think it's easy for us to think about rest. I just need a nap, okay? I just need a nap. And you probably do. I mean, go home, take a nap. Maybe the most spiritual thing you can do all day. But he's not talking about just taking a nap or just getting some REM sleep. He's talking about work, because he's talking about yoking yourself with him. And just remember how productive Jesus is. And he's inviting us into this. He is the most successful, impactful, world-changing mover and shaker that has ever been or ever will be. His little startup called Christianity, it would crush whatever you put on your 2025 vision board this year, wouldn't it? Man, he has built more buildings. He has sold more books, raised more money, helped more people, influenced more of society, touched more lives than anybody else. So it's not about not working. It's about working in the right way. And when you yoke yourself to Jesus, you are the best version of you. Now, when you think of yoke, think of it this way: subject to something, attached to something. And we're all yoked to something. We're all yoked to something that probably is not bringing us rest, if we're honest. Man, we'll get yoked to our children. Anybody yoked to your kids today? I'm not talking about responsible for them. That's okay. You should feed them and give them naps, right? Get them in school. But the truth is, sometimes we let our children dictate our lives. And they actually become objects of worship. And the Bible calls that idolatry. Now, that's the part of the sermon I said will be challenging right there, okay? Right? That happens. And so we need to recognize where that's gotten out of order. For some people, it's their career. For some people, it's consumerism, just thinking about everything that we get to buy and purchase and enjoy and buy this next year. And for some people, it's achievement. For some people, it's political views. For some people, it's just podcast experts. For some people, you're yoked to your financial debt. For some people, it's just body image or cultural expectations. We can find ourselves subject to things, and they can make us tired. So think about this. If Jesus said his burden is light, and we just read that, and what I'm carrying is really heavy, then it might mean he didn't want me to pick it up. What are you subject to? Ask yourself that question as you just evaluate your life. Man, what is it that you're subject to? What's attached to you? What drives your decisions? Where do you turn in times of anxiety and care and concern? And what Jesus is offering, man, is a vision of our life that provides rest. It's an unburdened life. Now, church fathers call practicing rest practicing eternity. Now, it's not because we're not going to work in eternity. We actually are. We're going to be very productive in eternity. But what they were meaning was there's something built into creation that brings rest. Augustine said this: "You have made us for yourself, Lord. Our heart is restless until it rests in you." And that's where our true rest is supposed to be. Now, this is intended to be the rhythm of our lives. And I just want to prove it to you real quickly out of the Bible, something that maybe you've never considered. In Genesis chapter 1, God's creating, and he's begun to create the world. And he's creating light and day and dark and all those things. He's creating water and he's creating the land and animals. And in chapter 1, verse 5, it says, God called the light day. We get that part. He called the darkness night. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. Now notice in that verse, let's throw it back up there real quick. In that verse, what comes first? Evening comes first. The time of rest comes first. Let me take it a step further. In Genesis chapter 2, it says God finished the work that he had done and he rested on the seventh day. So you have, the creation account is 6 days of creating, and then a seventh day gives us rest. So the seventh day is important when it comes to rest. Our bodies are actually built on a 7-day circadian rhythm. Like during the French Revolution, there was this attempt to expand the work week to 10 days. Hello, what in the world? Can you imagine? Some of you can because you work too much. That's another one of those challenge parts. Just thought I'd throw that in for free. But we know what happened after 10 days? They found that, first of all, they were more anxious. They were more depressed. Suicide rate went up. And guess what happened to productivity? It went down. We're just not created to do that. So in Genesis chapter 2, it says God rested on the seventh day. And then watch when he creates man. In 131, he says, God saw everything that he had made. It was very good. And there was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. So evening and morning, that's the day. Created on what? The sixth day. What happened on the seventh day? Rest. Rest. And so what we see in creation is the fact that we're to work from rest, not rest from work. Like, think about this for a second. It's revolutionary. We're to work from a place of rest, a place where we have energy, a place where we have perspective, a place where we have satisfaction, a place where we have desire. And that's where we're supposed to work from. We're not supposed to rest from everything that we've done and all the stuff that we have to recover from and all the late nights and all the redlining that we do. We're supposed to work from a place of rest. And this is built into the created order. And we can try as we want to push against that and resist that, but it's like resisting gravity, isn't it? Man, it's just not going well for us. And so we have to work from a place of rest. Listen, rest is not just an afterthought in the story of creation when God looked down and thought, man, they look tired. Let's let them have some sleep. Man, it is woven into the very fabric of existence. Listen, when God finished his work, as I read, he set apart the seventh day as rest, and it wasn't because he was exhausted. We know the Bible teaches God doesn't get tired, but it's because of purpose. He wanted us to understand something. It's just this rhythm, and it reminds us we are not defined. Somebody needs to hear this today. You're not defined by what you produce. You're not defined by what you produce, what you do, what your output is. It's important. I know that. Like, I'm not trying to minimize that, but it's not the definition of your identity because Jesus says, what, come to me, and you can have rest. It invites us just to step back and acknowledge the goodness of what has been done and trust in God. And by embedding rest into the cycle of the week, rest is a gift, man, and it establishes this life-giving element that we're looking for. And if God has set up our souls to need rest, to be vital, purposeful, and productive, like, why would we reject that? Why would we reject that? So, 4 different ways to look at rest. 4 different ways to look at rest. The first one is just kind of what happens at the end of the day. We just recharge, right? You just recharge. There's a lot of things that will recharge you. For some people, it is a nap. For a lot of us in the room, that is not it, okay? But for some people, it is. For some people, maybe it's a hike. Maybe it's playing golf. Maybe it's shopping. Maybe it's just a long bath by yourself reading a book. Come on, some of my introverts in the house. You won't say that because you're an introvert. I get it, but you're welcome. There are things that recharge our soul, and we're all wired differently. Some of us like indoors, some of us like outdoors, some of us like, a lot of people, some of us like just a little people, some of us, like different things. And why do we like that? Because it recharges us. It's what happens when we get to the end of the day. And we just need some recharge to get to the next day. Let me ask you this question. What do I really love to do that I haven't done in a long time? Like, what do you love to do that you just haven't done in a long time because you're too busy? You know, it's like, I used to do that, but, man, then we had kids. I used to do that, but, man, work has been so, you fill in the blank. And there's some things that we love to do that are actually good for us. I just want to give you some permission. You should go do that thing, as long as it's legal, right? But you should make time, create time to go do that. That qualifies as rest for you because it's going to recharge your batteries. You know, one of the euphemisms we talk about when we talk about recharge your batteries, which means you're getting ready to do something, which means you need to be connected to somebody. So we recharge. The second way to look at rest is just relax. It's just when we just relax. Now, have you ever been in that situation? You're just relaxed. No expectation on you. You're just at ease. You don't have anything to do, nothing on your list, no goal to accomplish, no project to get into. You're just at ease. You're just relaxed. But have you ever met people that you're like, if they ever learn to relax, they may die because they've never done it in their life? They just walk with this edge all the time. Man, it's just this edge of irritation or frustration, this edge of maybe anger, this edge of worry, this edge of anxiety. Ask yourself, do I walk with a sense of ease or with an edge? Do I walk with a sense of ease or an edge? That's a rest question. Now, the next thing, we know about this one, okay? The third thing that we do is we recover. We think that we can just run really hard all year and that at some point we'll just drive right on down to Seaside and we will just recover from all this redlining life we've been living. And there may have been a time when that worked. But don't you know that there was a time when you went on vacation and people couldn't get to you? Did you know that existed before cell phones? Did anybody know that there was a life before cell phones? Man, nobody could get to you. That question at work would have to wait. That emergency that was someone else's emergency, not yours, would have to wait. They couldn't get to you. Maybe they could grab you by phone, but as a general rule, they couldn't get to you. And now they get to you whenever they want, wherever you are. I'm just returning that text real quick. Man, it'll just make my life easier when I get back. I just gotta hit this couple of emails, right? It's just make my life easier when I get back. Like, I just don't wanna have to think about all those emails piling up when I get back. Oh, that phone call. Oh, baby, can I just take this one? I know we're about to sit down to dinner with the family, but listen, if I could just take this call, then I'll be off. Man, the truth is we're always on. Come on, right? Man, we are always on. Hey, I am guilty as charged. Guilty as charged. And we recover and we run ragged just as long as possible. Ask this question. When did I get extended time to turn it off? Like just to turn it off. Can you imagine what it would be like? Most people would go through some withdrawals if you try to put your phone down. Even for 24 hours. I mean, it's rugged. It's rugged because we're so connected. And with the good that comes with being connected, there's also a downside to that. And it's at the cost of our soul shriveling up. So we recharge, relax, recover. Fourth thing is just to remember. It's just to remember. And the thing that we need to remember every single day is that God is in charge. And we need to remember, and God created us, that Jesus' invitation to us is to come, that you can have rest for your souls because his burden is easy and it is light. And we have a tendency to forget that. And we get this tendency to focus on project self. And we really want to do things and we really have this overinflated sense of importance of we are important, but we have a hard time turning it off. And we need to remind ourselves every single day is that God is the one who's created us and he's given us this life that we have. And if we really want our souls to be maximized and to accomplish more that God has given us to accomplish, we gotta remember who's in charge. So what rhythms in your life help you to remember God? What rhythms in your life help you to remember God? As I was saying earlier, there's a morning rhythm. I think there should be a morning watch. You know, a lot of people say, well, I'm a night owl. That's great. That's great, but you should still get up and have a morning watch. And then you should have two because you're a night owl. So you're doubly effective at your spiritual growth because you can stay up later. But we need to have a time in the morning because once the day sets in and once the thoughts of what we need to do set in and once the demands of our life sets in, it's hard to recover our relationship with God. If this offer is true, we should organize our lives around it. They say every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. And if the results that we get are anxiety and depression, high levels of stress, chronic emotional burnout, irritability, broken relationships, no sense in the presence of God, man, then the odds are our system is probably broken, isn't it? It's upside down. Now, Jesus, over in the book of Mark, gives us this verse. He's obviously doing some teaching. And in Mark chapter 8, verse 36, Jesus says this, what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and to forfeit his what? Soul. To forfeit his soul. And his soul is what's gonna live forever. The soul is what's the driver of your life. The soul is where your motivations are and your relationship with God is. The soul is what you're really trying to find something to fill at your soul. And we can chase after things that make us tired and weary and anxious, fatigued, or maybe just a little distracted. And we'll miss the value that Jesus came to bring for our soul. Man, what an invitation. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Your soul will go from weary to rested, from exhausted to energized, from distracted to disciplined, from self-centered to sacrificial, from egotistical to serving, from striving to enjoying, from comparing to celebrating, from ambitious to content, from greedy to gracious, from heavy to light. Come to me, all who are weary, all who labor, all who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Let's pray together.